What's going on, Soul Tribe? I salute the divinity in you, and welcome to my channel, Alchemist. Justin here, and are you ready to set some intentions this week? This is a bit of a calmer week this week. You got just a few things that are going on. Mercury is going to be entering into the waters of Scorpio, so things are about to get really intuitive. We're going to give some real deep insights with this, and then we got a lot of sun action that's going to be going on as well. So stay tuned for that. But before we get into that, if you're new here, again, welcome. My name is Justin, and one of the things that I do on this channel is talk about the weekly trends that are going on. There's the Celestial News Weekly, the Cosmic Chit Chat that's going on in the sky. And this week I'm going to be covering the days of October 10th through the 16th. And let's jump into this thing. Because on Sunday, the 13th of October, at about 12:24 p.m., and that's going to be Pacific time, this Mercury is going to be entering into Scorpio. Now, Mercury is how we process information, how we communicate. This is how we reason, the Mercury is like practical wisdom. And then when it's moving into Scorpio, Scorpio is ruled by Mars in traditional astrology, and they're the fixed water sign, and they're feminine in nature. So that there is this receptivity that comes with Scorpio. And I find when Mercury is entering here, this can be one of really kind of getting a clear understanding of maybe for maybe you personally, what are some emotions that maybe you've been fixated on here recently, maybe some of the more tougher ones. If you've been dealing with like a depression, maybe you've been dealing with like an anger, like I'm even getting like a revenge energy, or maybe some sort of like fear, anxiety, things along those lines. This can be a really great time to understand how to alchemize that, how to move through that. And one ways I feel when we're talking with Mercury about working through these emotions, this could be creating when you feel it kind of coming up there, maybe doing like a voice memo just so that you can hear what's going on inside of you. Maybe this could be, maybe you need to write, maybe do some journaling, maybe you want to record yourself processing these emotions. Pay attention to your body language about how it's going on. Maybe you notice when you talk about these things, your shoulders start to tense up. Maybe you're seeing a lot of tension in your face. Maybe you're hearing your voice starting to tremble. Scorpio really has a way of picking up on these subtleties that you may not have noticed before. And I feel with their dispositor, with Mercury or with Mars being in Cancer, you could get just a better grip on that if you've been in this sort of just like reactive type of space. But I find too with this Mercury entering into Scorpio, one thing I feel to be mindful of too, if you because you may notice little those things that are all those signals that I was talking about, you may notice those in others. And where Scorpio does have a very strong intuition, you want to be responsible with that. We may not want to push things, especially if a person isn't ready to deal with that. You may understand what's going on. You may feel like you can help them process this, but they may not be in the space to want to deal with that all, at maybe all at once or at all. Because I find with Scorpio that there could be the potentiality of having that sort of like piercing energy and just really kind of pushing things and not letting it go. That could be where that fixed energy is coming on. Or there may be something, it could be a potential where you could possibly be projecting onto other people. You may think you're receiving the stuff and that they're going through things, but maybe that's something you picked up from something else, for someone else in your, somewhere else in your environment. So if you are noticing some sort of like differences in a person, maybe you've noticed that they've become a little quiet, maybe they've been a little cold, a little distant, a little things. Maybe instead of just like coming at the thing, just attacking the elephant in the room, maybe we kind of got to go about it like Cancer a little bit. Kind of got to dance around it where it's just like, hey, I've been noticing some things. Really kind of create this safe space here, because I find Scorpio's not just always intense. Scorpio can feel more emotions, like love, like understanding, like this compassion, this empathy, and they can really hone in on that. And so maybe you can just be like, hey, I'm noticing these things, and I just want to know, is this just, am I projecting onto you, or is there actually something that's going on? Do you want to talk right about it right now? Do I need to give you space? How can I be there for you? And I find with that, then you can kind of change that thickness in the air if there's something that has been kind of brewing up or anything along those lines. And that may even be well received. And two, let's say if someone is kind of responding from a place, trying to choose the high road for that, understanding that maybe, you know what, I don't need to be from an emotionally charged space, or like, hey, you're putting a lot on me right now, and that's not going to work. So I'm going to respect my boundaries and give you some space, or I'm going to give you some time to really kind of check yourself and see, maybe we can have this conversation later. Because I feel if we were to stoop to a level and then it's just a battle of emotions and things, it just gets messy. It gets messy and murky, and then nothing is getting accomplished other than just emotions. You know what I mean? So that's something I feel like too, to just kind of pay attention to. But also you could I feel like on a positive note, this Mercury in Scorpio really does have a way of, Scorpio sharp, and has a real way of just noticing the things around you. Pay attention to those messages and downloads and things from source. I feel this could be a really great time to tune into your intuition, that inner knowing, that higher light. Because later Sunday at about 8:52 p.m., the sun is going to be forming a trine with Big Papa, and this is going to be happening at 21 degrees and 17 minutes. The sun is in Libra, and Jupiter is retrograde in Gemini right now. Now, when we're talking about the trine energy, this is when it's like energy, like elements that are in a conversation. We're talking air, fire, earth, and water. They're Jupiterian in nature, so there could be this new beginnings. There could be more kind of fortune, more movement that we're seeing, more expansion. And when I'm thinking about the sun is in his fall right now in Libra. So one, I would say, well, how do I want to put this? I would see this as one thing kind of coming up, especially with all this air energy that's going on. I feel that this could be where, if you've been feeling a lot of emotions, especially with kind of like that Mercury just entering into Scorpio, being that it's the dispositor of Jupiter, you could again kind of understand the emotions more clearly. You can understand maybe why you've been feeling this frustration here recently, or maybe if you've been feeling a a tougher emotion, or if someone else has been feeling it, there could be this understanding that comes through, and it's just like, oh, this insight has happened because maybe they've been going through this, or maybe there's this thing that's been happening, or maybe you find a blockage in you possibly, and now we're able to kind of like clear that dam, and then things are starting to just flow through again. The emotions are starting to move, and we're starting to make sense, and we're able to initiate from that cardinal air energy, Libra. We're able to initiate from a more kind of more clear-minded state. In kind of that mutable air energy, we're able to change that mind a bit quicker than if you've just been kind of ignoring emotions, or if you haven't been trying to understand anything. Then I find that the sun in fall in Libra is just manifesting and just speaking and misinterpreting the intuitive messages, and creating a bit of a mess, and kind of creating more work for things to clear up. And with Big Papa being retrograde, it may be a bit harder to get things back in order. So that's just one thing that I feel like is coming up. But I do also feel that that there could be just subtle messages that are coming through, whether this be you hear conversation and it gives you the insight for an idea that you were coming up with. Maybe you happen to be, you find yourself scrolling through something, you click on, your thumb hits something by accident, and it pulls you to a resource that you like, a missing piece that you've needed to get through something, whether this be maybe a project that you were starting to or wanting to start, or whatever this may be. This could introduce you to just like, again, like a new kind of resource or something along those lines. So I would just kind of paying attention to what that inner voice. And I feel like with the planets being in kind of these weaker states, the sun being in Libra, Jupiter being in Gemini, just really finding some space to kind of be quiet, especially when there may be some kind of like some emotions that might be coming up, because right now Venus would still be in Scorpio. Both of the dispositors of the Sun and Jupiter are both in Scorpio. So this could be a great time for some meditation possibly, and just to kind of hear yourself, take out any sort of outside influences. Even just like, if you could just sit in silence for just like 5 minutes, 2 minutes, 3 minutes, something along those lines, just to hear, how am I doing? How am I feeling? What are some things that have been just kind of churning, and how can I transmute that? What can I learn from this? Because maybe with Jupiter and Gemini, there's just been a lot that's just been going on. Now, lastly, on Moon Day, the 14th of October, at about 1:52 a.m., the Sun will be forming a square with Mars. And this is going to happen at 21 degrees and 28 minutes. The Sun is still in Libra, and Mars is in Cancer. And one thing that I could see this coming up as, because the squares are Martian in nature, there could bring this tension, there could be this call to action, maybe there's a frustration that comes up, and maybe that during that Jupiter trine, with the Sun trining Jupiter, yeah, you got this download, you got this understanding, but it's just like, now what do I do with that? Like you could be where it's just like, okay, yeah, I'm just feeling this anger, I need to meditate, but it's just like, why am I not moving through this fast enough? Why is this thing not going? The cardinal energies just want to move. They just want to go. And I think that there is a way of moving through these insights. It's like, okay, you got the message to start meditating, but it's not just going to be something that you fix, just one thing is going to fix this. This is like a continuous practice that's going to be going on. Maybe you get a hit to do some art therapy, and you're going through this thing, you're just like, this is dumb. Nothing's happening. But then you know what? Allow yourself to sit with it a little bit longer, and then maybe just kind of see what came up. And it's just like, oh, this colors are making me feel, or this colors may be bringing up some past things. You may be able to get to the root of something about why something started in the first place, how you wound up in a certain position, whether this be maybe an argument that happened, maybe this is the decision that was made, whatever this is. You could, if you've been in this place of just like, why, it could be right there if we just take a minute to just hear the why. I feel like the answer can be very obvious if we just allow it to not force it to be something else other than what it is. Maybe it's just like, what, maybe I've just been going through some rough transits right now, and I just need to just kind of empty this out. Or I need to find something else to focus on right now to kind of help me process this thing, or so that I can get out of that stuck energy, whatever that might be looking like for you. But I also feel too that it's just like this does give me very intuitive guidance. This gives me, with the Sun bringing in those insights, and Mars and Cancer is just like, okay, this is what I'm feeling. So I don't need to really let's try not to overthink this or try to over rationalize this. And I feel like there's a difference between being reactive and just like, okay, this feeling is telling me to try to do this thing, or it's just trying to do that thing. And when we're coming from a calm space, and it's just like we're being more proactive and working with these energies. So that's a pretty rough, I'd say a pretty general idea of what I would say is kind of going on with this week. And one more thing. Just speaking of that kind of that insight, or like sort of like maybe some like kind of like aha moments that may come up, considering that Jupiter just went retrograde. If you happen to have Jupiter retrograde natally, this could be a time where most of us, if we happen, I don't want to say most of us, those of us who happen to have Jupiter direct, this may be feeling a bit more, maybe having a bit of a harder time working with this. If you have this natally, this is an energy that you're familiar with. And so this could be a time for you to kind of, especially if you have Jupiter and Gemini retrograde, this could be things maybe kind of coming full circle for you. So you want to look at your chart to see where this is happening, because there could be some kind of, again, some kind of a big break that's coming through, whether that be, again, an idea, maybe whatever that could look like for you. So, and look in your chart, see where you have these degree points, because that's why I mentioned these degree points too. See where you have these degree points, if there's this activating a certain point that's maybe working with you more personally. And I think that's all I got for you in the news there. And if you want to know what's going on with the lunar shenanigans, because I don't talk about them, the moon moves so fast, I have a whole other channel that I do that one for. And I also do some tarot readings on there that kind of couple with that energy, really kind of help you get and maybe kind of help you navigate these intuitive waters a lot more. So I have it addressed towards Cancer, but it's towards anyone who wants to sync up with the moon, or maybe because we all have Cancer in somewhere in our placement. How it covers a house somewhere, and we all have a moon placement. So if you wanted to work with the moon more personally, down in the description box below, I have a link for my other channel, The Chariot and Friends, so definitely check that out. And I have a link for all of the other services that I happen to offer as well. So if that's something that resonates with you, if you want to work with your chart more personally, whether you got a solar return, if your sun's in Libra, or the sun be moving into Scorpio here soon. So if you want to get kind of an idea of what's coming on there, definitely check that out. Again, all that information is in the description box below. But until next time, keep raising that consciousness and that vibration through the roof to the sun. And I will catch you on the next one, Mercury Day.